As I said, the issue of Old Farm Road is secondary. The primary concern is that a multifamily development located at the terminus or at the endpoints of Downsbrook Drive would essentially create a traffic volume issue for those residents that far exceeds the concerns that the people on Old Farm Road have, because this is a truly secondary local access street where Old Farm Road has essentially, for the city of Roanoke Rapids, become more of a collector street, which leads to your arterial roads where your primary commercial and office space uses are located. Just to give you an idea of what is currently within the Downsbrook area, there are 43 single-family parcels located within this neighborhood. That includes Ashbury and McAllen courts. So there's currently 43 single-family parcels there, which require parking for 2 automobiles per unit, which would result in 86 automobiles currently coming into and out of Downsbrook Drive based on the current development pattern. We did have a few other considerations in looking in this, in that regardless of what is done on the site, whether this rezoning is approved or not approved, one concern that the city has is that Downsbrook Drive be connected through the site whenever it is developed, whether it be in the form of single-family or multifamily residential construction, so that residents and traffic can flow freely through both entrances and exits to the thoroughfare. I have listed in the staff report and the statement of consistency 4 policies out of the land use plan that the staff and ultimately the planning board did vote and decided that this request was not consistent with. Based on North Carolina general statutes, the planning board and ultimately the city council must make a determination on why a given request is not consistent with your standing and adopted policies. And I'm not going to read through all these, but I will read through the 4 that were included within the statement of consistency for the benefit of the citizens present as well as the council. But the statements that we feel that this request is not consistent with is item 9.3, land uses considered harmful to the health, safety, and welfare of area residents shall be prohibited from infringing upon the livability of residential areas. This is not as relevant as the other 3. However, the traffic generation considerations and the impacts on the existing portions of Downsbrook Drive, we feel presents a safety concern and could have some substantial adverse impacts on the existing neighborhood. Policy 9.5, the city will encourage different housing densities to abut one another as long as proper buffering and design is provided as needed and such land use does not negatively impact the neighborhood. This, without any conditions being placed on this rezoning request and giving him a use by right ability in terms of multifamily development, staff does not see a way that this goal can be met. If this was a conditional rezoning, and some stipulations could be put on what can and can be done on the site and how the site should be developed to mitigate the adverse impacts on the existing community, the staff would feel that this would be more appropriate in relation to this policy. But this is a standard rezoning request, meaning that multifamily housing would be a use by right. Item 9.7, factors in determining preferred locations of high-density residential development shall include, but not be limited to, close proximity to employment and shopping centers, access to major thoroughfares and transit systems, the availability of public services and facilities, and identified citywide housing needs. In the fact, we see that this being located directly within an existing single-family neighborhood does not necessarily agree with the intent of where to locate multifamily housing as outlined within the current planning policy. And lastly, item 14.4, infill development, redevelopment, rehabilitation of structures and sites should occur in a manner which is consistent and supportive of the neighborhood and architectural context of the surrounding area. And staff just feels that multifamily housing would be in direct conflict with the existing form and character of the single-family residential neighborhood. So those are the four statements that staff and ultimately the planning board decided that this request is not consistent with. And I will, last thing I'll say, and I'll obviously address questions from the council, is that the staff recommendation was to not approve this rezoning request based on three primary reasons. The proposed rezoning could potentially more than double the average trips per day along the northern and southern portions of Downsbrook Drive. The proposed rezoning could substantially increase the traffic volume on Old Farm Road, which already experiences heavy daily traffic flow, and multifamily development is not consistent with the surrounding single-family neighborhood in terms of form, scale, and function. And additionally, we do state that this recommendation is consistent with the comprehensive planning policies for the city as outlined in this statement of consistency. So that being said, the two actions that the council needs to take tonight is approval or denial of the statement of consistency, which is based on the planning board recommendation, the staff report, which was to deny the rezoning request based on inconsistency with the policies that I stated. And the second motion would be to approve or deny the actual rezoning request. So there are two independent actions. And I can answer any questions.
Yeah, if you'll stand by, does any council member have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If this parcel was developed into lots corresponding with the rest of the area, how many lots would be there based on 12,000 square feet?
I cannot answer that. I can tell you that there was a conditional use permit request for a subdivision on this site, and if I recall correctly, it was about 10 to 12 lots, somewhere in that range. Between 10 and 15, but the conditional use, and I don't believe that ever went through full approval or denial in terms of the process, because it would have gone to council. But the proposal that was on the table, the lots aligned perfectly with the existing development pattern. It was essentially intended to mesh right into the existing neighborhood. It's the one issue there was a cul-de-sac in that proposed plan. And at that point in time, I know the staff had recommended that cul-de-sac stub out onto the northern portion of Downsbrook Drive.
Okay. One other question. Would you touch briefly on how often this can appear on the council agenda? I think it appeared 2 years. Is it every 2 years this item can appear if it's denied? Or?
It is 2 years. The last time this specific request was made was in 2005. So it has been well beyond the 2-year period. Yeah. And we did get into this at the conditional use request for the subdivision was in 2007.
Okay.
The rezoning was in 2005.
Okay. Thank you, Len.